It really doesn't get much faster than these two. The Nissan GTR's awesome performance is nearly mythic at this point, and the Track Pack Edition here hones it even further. This R8, a new V10 Plus model, has more horsepower than last year, and finally a fast-shifting twin-clutch transmission. With around 550 horsepower and 0 to 60 acceleration in the 3-second range, these all-wheel drive supercars represent the top of the line from each automaker. And on this week's head-to-head, they're doing battle. These are two very different cars separated by a substantial amount of money, but it's fascinating at how they go about accomplishing similar goals. The smaller, lighter, and wider R8 uses a traditional and effective mid-engine layout and a high-revving, naturally aspirated V10. It has a simple-looking but light all-wheel drive system, using a viscous center differential to send torque forwards. The GTR, by comparison, is a science project, with its twin-turbo V6 up front sending power to the transaxle, which in turn sends torque back to the front on a separate drive shaft when the electronics deem it so. In testing, both systems are very effective. The R8's launch control holds the V10 at a satisfying wail before spinning its tires as it screams ahead. While the R8 seems fast, the Nissan quickly upstages it. With not even a chirp from its tires, the GTR simply disappears. That 0 to 60 result ties it with the quickest production cars we've ever recorded. In our braking test, the grippy Dunlops on the GTR show their effectiveness. While the R8 has large ceramic rotors, its standard Pirelli P0s limit its stopping performance. The tire difference shows again on the figure 8, with the GTR posting a half-second better lap time. Our data shows that the Nissan makes up most of its time on corner entry. Randy Popes joins us at Streets of Willow Springs to set lap times and give some impressions.
Randy, the GTR is the fastest car of the day. What are your thoughts?
By a lot. Well, number one, torque.
Lots of it.
Mostly ease of driving.
Yes.
Drivability. The GTR, you can just rock this thing and you don't have to be me. He said egotistically.
It's the accessibility of the performance that does this thing so well, or that makes this thing do so well, right?
The car is balanced, and it's so well balanced, you don't really need to have great car control to drive it right on the hairy, bloody limit and turn a great lap time. It's just utterly amazing in that way. But at the same time, there's this little lack of driver involvement. It's not a car that you dance on the edge. It's just hooked.
Yes.
Look at me. Flat out in this bowl, talking with one hand, shifting, no hands. I'd never do that in the Audi.
It kind of makes you do some things that you probably wouldn't do in other cars for fear of your own life or, the car's value.
Makes it so easy.
You have the confidence.
Second gear. Bang, rev it up. Look at this. No steering corrections. The car just goes. I'm kind of bored here. I think I'll take a nap as I come on the front straightaway.
It's so capable you're bored.
Well, I don't have to do anything. Look how straight. This is amazing.
You can certainly, though, respect the engineering that makes a car that is capable of that sort of behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do they do it? They do it better than anybody else. I don't think there's another car 500 plus horsepower that is so well balanced and so capable of making speed.
Randy, this R8 has more horsepower than the GTR. It's lighter. It's got the engine in the right spot, but it's slower. What happened there?
What were those two T's you were describing earlier, Carlos?
But
Traction and car control. Wait, that's not a T. But a good example of how the R8 is much easier to break the tail free all the way from corner entry to exit under power. I find myself being a little careful with the car. I'm sort of enjoy hanging the tail out through all the corners, but in the fast corners, I just plain slow down because there's too much a chance you're going to end up backwards in the weeds.
But other times, it can be a little just fun.
It is fun to dance the car, and that's one way it's really different from the GTR. This is a dancer. Well, you know what? Driving the Audi R8, it's a little bit harder to talk because you're busier. You have to focus. It requires a lot more precision. If you were trying to turn your top lap time in the Audi R8, you've got to be on it every second.
Yes.
It is a difficult car to drive fast because of its oversteer. Someone at Audi considers this kind of handling to be sporty because this is a very much the high-end R8, right?
Yes.
Top of the line.
It is the top of the line R8 currently.
V10 plus. And it is loose. It's a car where you want to leave the stability control on.
V10 plus oversteer. But it is nice being able to step out an all-wheel drive car like that.
It is amazing. It does not feel like the all-wheel drive cars that I've known.
Yes.
They tend to understeer more under power, especially in the middle of the corner. And in this Audi R8, the all-wheel drive's almost invisible.
Yeah.
The GTR is definitely a firmer riding car.
Yes, for sure.
And I don't think it has the structural rigidity that the Audi does, but the Audi has an excellent street tire, the Pirelli P0.
Yes.
Not Corsa.
Yes.
It's like a real tire. I mean, it's got tread. You can go 100 miles an hour in the rain and not worry about hydroplaning, whereas the Nissan has a more aggressive tire. The Dunlop has far fewer tread blocks. And so I think the Nissan has a real tire advantage in today's comparison.
It's got an advantage of torque and traction. On the road in the Audi R8, you first notice this overall sense of quality within the interior of this car. Everything is just really nice. You have quilted leather seats, you have carbon fiber everywhere, you have this nice microfiber suede material on the roof. It's just a nice place to be for an extended period of time. I will say though, as nice as this seat is to sit in, it doesn't offer a lot of lateral support. I kind of have to brace up against this carbon fiber door handle right here with my knee, and I think I'm getting a little bit of a bruise there. The sense of quality is simply everywhere, and you notice that too in the ride, which is firm as you would expect from a supercar, but it's not jarring. You don't get like these massive vertical movements. You don't notice bumps in the road as much as you might in the GTR. It's really comfortable, especially on the freeway, where the car feels just sort of like an Audi A4, A6. It's just smooth and nice, easy to drive, and comfortable. Now, having the engine behind us means that we have great forward visibility. The seating position is nice and low. You feel like you're in just immediate control over the front end of this car. You have a terrific steering response too. The car just sucks in around corners on this road. And you also get the sense when you start leaning on it, when you start pushing it through corners, you can feel the weight transfer just a little bit. That's a sensation you don't get a lot in the GTR, but you notice the balance of the car. You know that this has a rear weight bias. You feel it through every corner, and it's a really nice sensation. Now, the Nissan GTR on the road has always been sort of a strange beast. You feel like you're driving a sort of a prototype of a car because of the noises and the sensations of driving it. There's gear whine, there's engine noise, there's all kinds of things happening in your ears. And then there's the way it goes around corners, which is just insane. You have a level of acceleration here through corners and confidence that most cars simply can't give you. Now let's talk about what it's like to sit inside. Well, we have in the track package these new seats, which are pretty ugly, but do a decent job of holding you in your spot. I don't have to brace my knee against the door as much as I do in the R8. It's sort of an inelegant looking cockpit though. It just is meant to be functional and usable. And considering that the rest of the car works that way, it makes sense. You shouldn't expect high-level luxury in the GTR. That's not its purpose. Its purpose is dominating roads, dominating racetracks, putting down impressive numbers, and so on. And it does that very well. Still, there's an inelegance to the way it looks and the way it rides down the road. You get a lot of suspension movement. You get a lot of head shake, you get a lot of impacts through the road, and they don't upset the car, but they are noticeable, especially when you go through like expansion joints on the freeway. You'll be knocking your head against the back of the seat rest. Going up a mountain road just makes you giggle at how surreal it seems to be. I mean, oh my God. The best part though isn't savoring in the power band or anything. Like in the R8 has a really nice linear power band that gets sweeter and sweeter the longer you stay on the throttle. With this though, the whole goal seems to be just going flat on the throttle as soon as possible and feeling that sensation and torque as the turbos spool up and as this thing just shoots you out of a corner. It is a very strange but very enjoyable sensation.
A convincing argument exists for both cars. The GTR earns respect for being so spectacularly dominant at speed. It is the new supercar killing machine. But in doing what it does so well, it neglects the subtle but hugely enjoyable elements of driving a car. It sees the apex but misses the road. The R8 has depth. Its ease of use and comfort means you could drive it every day, and yet that functionality doesn't impede the fun when you drive it fast. Crucially though, and unlike the Nissan, you don't have to be at the absolute limit to enjoy it. The R8 wins not because it's more refined, sounds better, and looks better, but because, simply, we all wanted to keep driving it.